Assalamualaikum and a very good day. I am Nurulashikin Romli for Putra Business School, UPM. Today, I will present my research title, Assessing the Impact of China Carbon Dioxide Emission on Financial Stability. As a part of International Symposium on Social Sciences, Business Education and Technology 2025, ISBET 2025. For introduction, climate change is no longer just an environmental issue. It has become systemic risk to global financial system. This is especially true for China, the world's largest emitter of carbon dioxide. The country banking sector is increasingly exposed to climate-induced financial vulnerability such as asset devaluation, rising credit default, and impaired loan portfolio. According to Global Carbon Budget 2022, China released approximately 11.7 billion metric ton of CO2 in 2022, ranking number 1 globally. This make it an ideal case to study the financial implication of environmental degradation. However, empirical study link CO2 emission to systemic banking risk, particularly using Z-score, remain limited. This is the gap my research aim to address. This study is guided by three main objectives. First, to examine the relationship between national CO2 emission and the bank Z-score in China. Z-score is a composite measure of financial stability and insolvency risk. Second, to compare the climate sensitivity of Z-score against traditional performance indicators such as ROE, return on asset, and ROE, return on equity. And third, to contribute towards climate-aligned financial government in supporting of UN Sustainable Development Goal (SDG), specifically climate action, economic growth, and infrastructure and innovation. Literature review. For the literature review, existing literature has made significant stride in recognizing climate change as a financial risk. The Financial Stability Board (FSB) 2020 and the Network for Greening the Financial System (NGFS) 2021 have both called to reform to integrate environmental risk into macro-prudential policy. Empirical studies show that physical climate such as flood, drought, and extreme temperature can affect loan performance and increase the likelihood of credit default, particularly in developing economy, by Bretton Fowler et al. 2019 and also Wang and Zhang 2019. Yet, comprehensive empirical framework that translate climate indicator into banking risk measure remain undeveloped. Okay, so literature review for the Chinese context. Several studies have begun to explore the environmental financial relationship. For example, Zhao and Zhao 2021 said that the higher CO2 emission correlate with the increased credit risk and financial stability, also approved by Liu, Xiu, and Li 2020. The Z-score emerged as critical metric in this regard. It captures bank profitability, capital adequacy, and earning volatility, offer a robust proxy for insolvency risk, study done by Levin and Levin 2009. Next, Chen and Lin further confirmed that certain banking entities are more vulnerable to environmental shock, especially when exposed to sector-specific or regional risk cluster. However, more of the findings are based on limited time frame and do not adequately control for endogeneity. Hence, the need for my approach is present. Okay, based on the methodology, this study employ a balanced panel dataset covering Chinese microeconomic and banking indicator from 1990 to 2021. The dependent variable is Z score, representing the bank stability. The independent variable is annual CO2 emission measured at the national level. The control variable include GDP, inflation, trade balance, and interest rate, all sourced from World Development Indicator (WDI), and to address the potential endogeneity and autocorrelations, this study applied the system generalized method of moment system (GMM) estimator. This method is widely used for dynamic panel model and is particularly suited for study with large time series and also country level data. The expected findings show that significant negative correlation between CO2 emission and also the Z score. In other words, as emission increase, bank stability will decrease. So more importantly, the Z score proved to be more responsive to climate stress than traditional indicator like ROA and ROE. This support the use of Z score as a more appropriate forward-looking measure of climate-related financial risk compared to ROA and ROE. This finding also underscore the systemic nature of environmental risk, which go beyond operational impact to affect macro financial resilience. And for the conclusion, this study offers compelling evidence that CO2 emissions are a determinant of financial fragility or bank stability, especially in the context of emerging economy like China. This is an urgent need for regulator to integrate climate risk into banking supervision and macro-prudential framework. Tools such as climate stress test, capital buffer, and ESG-aligned disclosure should become standard practice. Additionally, banks must embed climate metrics into their credit risk model, underwriting processes, and also strategic planning. For the future research, could extend this work by examining transition risks, sector-specific vulnerabilities, and the impact of policy-induced climate shock. Thank you for your attention. I hope this presentation contribute to ongoing discussion on integrating climate resilience into financial decision making. Should you have any question, I welcome you during the Q&A session. Thank you once again.